Hello guys, NautoAis here, and I want to give my thoughts on a surprise announcement from Nintendo, and that is Animal Crossing New Horizon will have a new update version 3.0 in 2026, and it's actually an interesting one, especially sort of a demand that finally returning since the GameCube, or to some extent in Japan, the N64. And spoiler in my main channel, I may be doing an Animal Crossing for the N64 showcase, but I have to figure out how it works, but that'll be a different story there. But also, there will be a Switch 2 edition, which it's basically just improvement to some extent. And I'll explain that also because it seemed that it's a bit of controversy with some consumer. It is what it is. Whatever, I'll give my thoughts about those. So first of all, the announcement of the free update version 3.0. Oh boy. So they're adding again new stuff, such as apparently now there's a new sea resort hotel, and if you do something with the kappa because they're the NPC for that particular mission, you get like ticket in-game currency, and you can use that to buy some stuff and customize more stuff. You know how Animal Crossing New Horizon kind of work. Plus, they're gonna have more new villager and more new free update features. But the biggest one here that finally to some extent they return, and that is the Nintendo console furniture. So the backstory, if you didn't know, Animal Crossing for the N64, that's only in Japan by the way, and Animal Crossing in the GameCube, there is special NES furniture, which believe it or not, the reason a lot of Nintendo fans, to some extent Animal Crossing fans, thinks the highly best version because of that mini game. And if you're wondering what happened, here's the backstory from what I understand. First of all, on the DS, doesn't really work. Not that big. Doesn't really work. Basically, the DS one is the first game that you can go online. Played it, not so much. And then on the Wii U, was no Animal Crossing, and they talk about it in a different video. They just wanted an Animal Crossing in the Wii U, but not so much of an actual Animal Crossing, so they did a board game with amiibo support. However, there's also an integration with Home Designer. Same deal, spin-off. So there is no Animal Crossing there. 3DS, of course, welcome amiibo later on. If you didn't know, they update that, free update to have amiibo support. There was no NES again console. That actually can work. However, there is sort of a mini game that if you have a Wii U, to some extent you can play like some, I think, Tetris Attack type mini game. And there's also that board game from Animal Crossing, the Wii U version, the board game. And then, of course, the Wii, which again, online, 60 frames, that's also the key thing there. And communication, there's like the Wii Speak channel integration there, but nobody really worked. I tried to use it. Nobody really give a shit. There was no, again, NES furniture. And I think during the development with Animal Crossing 3DS, that the story behind that was, according to the director, they were told by Nintendo that you cannot put in any free NES minigame. Like, why? That would be nice. Well, in the perspective of Nintendo Japan, because they're a bunch of grandpas, they believe that it can capitalize for, at a time, is virtual console. In the case with New Horizon, it might capitalize on the NSO, you know, their Nintendo Netflix, which technically $20 to play online. It's still cheap, and you get other swag. And again, I'm telling you, even as of right now, and granted, I bought, credit to Mad Pixel, I bought this 8-bit though N64 controller, and it works really good. I'm playing a lot of Paper Mario because I also bought Paper Mario 2 for the Switch for $40. Best Paper Mario game in my opinion. The 30 frames kind of like, it sucked. I don't know what's going on, but different story there. But the bottom line I'm trying to say is that, yeah, it's cool to play those retro games, but if you're old, you got a job, time's not on your side, chances are you probably want to play some new games. That's just me. New games. I already played this old game. I know it's nostalgic, but to some extent, some of them don't age well, and the only thing makes me go back is Rewind feature, but that's a different story there. But anyway, that was the reason behind it. So one of the biggest feature that I'm like, oh, finally they did it, with a caveat, is the return of the Nintendo console furniture. So not only you get Famicom, NES, you're also going to get Super Famicom, Super NES, depends which region, you know the story is. You can actually get both furniture, but whatever, it was a different time there. To some extent, N64, I don't know about GameCube, but the downside to some extent is that you're gonna need a paid NSO. Yeah, so you need to have a paid NSO, to play those retro Netflix games. In order to play the furniture, you're gonna have that. So it's sort of a compromise. Yeah, finally they brought back the Nintendo console furniture, but you still have to pay $20 for that feature. I mean, it's Nintendo, the bunch of grandpa to some extent. Again, it would be nice if free. It makes sense for somebody new to, oh, what is this? But nah, I mean, grandpas are being grandpa. They just need money. Oh boy. Well, there are also a lot of collaboration. Lego, awesome. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to do new collaboration. You know what the best collaboration for me, but this is really just wishful thinking? Nintendo cross PlayStation. That'll be funny. Or better yet, Nintendo cross Microsoft. Maybe Banjo. Maybe Minecraft. Or to some extent Sonic. But that'll be a different story there. Also, new villagers. I also talk about this in one of my segments, the Amiibo Anniversary. And that is, if you have certain Amiibo, you can bring in certain guest villagers. So, the recap on the 3DS, if you have like Wolf Link, you can get Link. You get a Ganondorf, you can get Pig Ganon. And then the Squid Sisters, you get sort of a villager who's a fan of the Splatoon game. You get an idea. So with that said, they're going to do that again on version 3.0 by adding Minoru and Tulin, and to some extent also the Splatoon character from Splatoon 3. So, I mean, from what I understand, you need those amiibo. So, there you go. But they brought it back. So, maybe the older one, they come back. And maybe Navarro, Monster Hunter Story amiibo. Navarro at least. Bring a Navarro. That'll be nice. I mean, they announced new amiibo for Monster Hunter 3, but they're not bringing back the old one. Never got in the West. Bullshit, but whatever. So, there you go. A lot of the new features, new update. A bit of a quality of life. And you might say, oh, that's awesome. There's a free update that's going to be in 2026. They announced that. So, props. And if you're wondering, is it integrated with Pocket Camp? To some extent, yes, with the design, but that's it. So now, they did also announce a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which is basically just improvement for the Switch 2. It is what it is. Nothing really much about it. And it is $5. And I'll talk about it, but some people feel it was a controversy. So, what they basically announced for the Switch 2 edition, again, it's mind you $5, should be free, but I'll explain it later. First of all, 4K makes sense. Anything you put on the Switch 2, backwards compatible, 4K, whatever, it is what it is there. Mouse control, to some extent, kind of makes sense because it's not really a fast-paced game. It is a simulation game to some extent. Local resident, you can use a new in-game item called Megaphone to call certain villager. I think they've done it before in the 3DS, but that's a long time ago. 12 players online rather than 8. So more players because of the power of the Switch 2. And then you can also use the camera to do game chat. Okay, that's it. Downside, if you notice, there is no 60 frame. Would that make sense? Yeah, because like I said, the Wii, the GameCube, and the N64 were in 60 frames. That's why. All suddenly, why is it 30 frames? I think they said because of quality, graphic, over performance, whatever. Maybe they don't know how to make games in 60 frames. Not every Nintendo employees do, but they could have done it with this one. So, to some extent, there is a bit of a quality of life, but not so much that a lot of people really care. Oh my gosh, it's a paid wall. That's kind of bullshit. Again, potato. For me personally, I think it's a compromise. Because like Amiibo, I get it. More you benefit the consumer, they make them happy. But keep in mind that's also a backfire to the business. If they're not getting the return, they're not making the money, why are they doing it? They're not a charity. So to me, this one's sort of a compromise. The business can be happy. The consumer can be happy to some extent. $5. Unless you have a hard time getting $5 or you really need that $5 to buy your Big Mac or whatever. To each your own. No judging. I'm just saying there, Big Mac costs like $5 to some extent. So there you go. So $5 for me personally, I mean, if you're making a living, if you have a job, come on, $5. I mean, relax. I know money is important to some extent, but $5. Could have been free? Yes. The problem is you have to understand a lot of people, maybe they know, maybe they don't. Maybe they just we just want Nintendo to just cut the loss. Okay, that's fine, but Rule business 101. Business should not be losing money to some extent. They are supposed to make money. Microsoft is barely making money. Game Pass didn't help them. YouTube or Twitch, if you didn't know, they're not making money on those platforms to some extent, if you didn't know. That's why it's right now with YouTube, they're wonky, longer ads, and videos are hard to find. And that to some extent, some Nintendo YouTuber are concerned that they might have to get a real job. Again, not going to go there, but you get the idea. The bottom line is a lot of this thing, whether you like it or not, costs money. Improvement resolution costs money. Adding new feature that's coding costs money. And yes, they could probably cut the loss, but why should they? Again, you say, oh, Nintendo's great for doing this. Sony's doing it, if you didn't know. Believe it or not. Ghost of Tsushima, God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, etc., etc., etc. If you didn't know, a lot of these first-party games, there's a paid upgrade. Should it be free? Yeah, but the problem is, a lot of these developers sort of admit that it's costing us money to improve a lot of these games, and if we're not getting the return, it doesn't make sense. So we need a compromise. That's why Jim Ryan, dick he may be, he basically said, yeah, it has to be paid. We need to get something back. Again, going back all the way to Mass Effect 3 during the PS3 360, the HD era. Remember, there was a controversy ending, and people demand to fix the ending because they were lied on. I think to some extent it was a false advertisement. To some extent, there was a lot of argument. And for me, quick thoughts about it is that I'm with the consumer. Of course, Colin did not like that. You know, he kind of called all the Mass Effect fans idiot to some extent. It is what it is. To a point that he even stand his ground and not even bother playing the director's cut. He even refused out of the respect to the developer because, yeah, believe it or not, Casey Hudson, I think at the time, was in charge, was not happy about it. They said it was exhausting doing it, and they're not getting anything back from to some extent. EA, I think they cut their losses. They said, yeah, fine, you know, here it is. We'll give you the money, do the director's cut. They did what they could do. Again, I'm not really a Mass Effect fan, but a friend of mine is, and he did say that to some extent it made more sense. Angry Joe even talked about it, said, yeah, it made more sense. But again, it is what it is. So the bottom I'm trying to say is that a lot of this improvement, porting it to a powerful console, it would be nice to be free, but they can't do it to some extent. Not all company can do it. It's a compromise. I'm just saying there. So, like it or hate it, the Switch 2 edition upgrades $5. At least it's not $10. And I mean, it should be free. Makes more sense, but it's a business. They need to get some returns to some extent. Sony developers admitted that they're not getting the return when they're trying to do a free upgrade. It is what it is. So there you go, my thoughts. Animal Crossing 2 Switch 2 Edition in version 3.0. Awesome. They actually listened to the fan, bringing back a highly demanded feature to some extent with a caveat, but again, I have to pay $20 just to play those NES games. Well, I mean, to some extent, that's not really what Animal Crossing is. And again, you're paying $20 to play online with your friends, like play Mario Kart World to some extent, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and the NES Classic Nintendo console app. That's like a side dish. It's a fries or basically your drink, or you know what I mean. It's not the main attraction of the program. NSO is to play online. Paid online, because whether you like it or not, server costs money, and that's why they're doing it. I know Microsoft, there's a rumor that their next console will be free online again. Hallelujah, if that's true, but we have to wait and see for that one there. But anyway, there you go, my thoughts. Pretty good. I like it. I'm happy. So I can't wait to go back to Animal Crossing for the Switch 2 edition. I am going to get the $5. I like Animal Crossing. I have all the version, believe it or not. And the demanded feature is back. I like it. Yes, like I said, you need to pay at least $20 to play them. But for crying out loud, dude, why are you playing old games if you can play new games? I mean, granted, the political one, but there are still some recent games that are good. I'm just saying, but to each of their own, nostalgic fan, whatever. But there you go. Yeah, so I can't wait for that one. It's not going to come out until January 15, 2026. So that's a long time. But again, Animal Crossing Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, guess what? I think, maybe I could be wrong, that may be Nintendo's January game. So not only are you going to have Switch 1 and Switch 2 game, I bet you Switch 2 Edition is going to be not considered a Nintendo game for the month. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking about it. Maybe too much. But there you go. My thoughts about it, awesome. Kudos to Nintendo. So with that, I'll see you guys later.